we have a question, so let's see. So what happened when unstoppable meets immovable object? Oh, that's a good question. So here you're most likely looking at high energy physics. So let's have a quick look here for this question. So here I put a piece of metal, let's say that is an infinite density, infinite mass, like this, so that it won't change shape either. And we have unstoppable force. Okay, so we'll look into that one as well. So if you have an immovable object with with here infinite density and infinite mass, either in a lab or it could be in space, both will act the same way. Now, if you have an object that is unstoppable, or you have an unstoppable force, that's a good question. Let's say that you have, I'm going to use a particle because it's the simplest way. But if you had, well, actually, I'm going to give you a different object. So if this is, for example, a pebble that is, let's see, do I have a piece of rock that could be fun? Let's see. Oh, look at this. I have a piece of rock that has a mass that is not too heavy, and you have a velocity going towards this immovable object. What will happen is that you have particles from one end here that will want to go forward, and all the pieces are all linked together. So that's easy. If you are taking this piece of rock and it's hitting an immovable object, so what happened here is that you have here, this particle here momentarily hits the object, but all the mass and the particles that have not touched this object will still have a speed to go forward. So what happened here is that you have a rock that would shatter completely in front of that immovable object. So that is something to keep in mind if you are using a physical object like this. Now, if you look like a particle, let's say it's a proton. And interestingly enough, I was able to see a speech from a physicist with high energy particle on Thursday. So I can answer that question a little bit more here, which is interesting as well. If you have a proton that is here, the proton is a physical object, but it's also made of quarks. So here there are 3 quarks that makes that proton. So if you are working with high energy physics in particle accelerators, you're trying to get acceleration of particles. So you have a big ring here. For example, at CERN, we have here particles going this way at the speed, close to the speed of light. And then we have other particles going the other way as well. And the plan here is to have them meet at the middle and see what happens when they meet each other. So here it's not the same, but somewhat similar. So here you have this particle right here moving along. Let's get some green. Actually, do you see green? Let's see if I can take black. We have this particle here. This particle will come to this block here. So when it gets to this point here, with an infinite force, infinite force and infinite speed like this, for example, what will happen is that you still have a mass here. So this, when it meets this object here, this matter here will become basically energy. The whole thing will shatter because there's so much energy happening all at once that this, so if you think of, and that's what the physicist was mentioning, if you have energy equals mc squared, if you have a particle with a mass and you have a speed large enough from an object that doesn't move, and this one has infinite force. So what happened here is this matter, because of its smaller size compared to this one here, will shatter. So this matter here, what will happen? It will become energy. And the big question we have is, okay, Now we have matter that is becoming energy, but just for a fraction of a second. Because as soon as energy is produced, we live now in on Earth, for example, even though a particle accelerator is at very low temperature, this energy will cool down and therefore will will form matter again. So if you have particle physics and you are doing a collision like this, for matter, you create energy, and for the energy cooling down, creating matter again. This is all the research to try to have bosons or elementary particles that makes our universe. So here we can have boson with the idea of antimatter and all these fun particles that they are working with. Now, I'm not a high energy particle specialist, but that gives us a good idea of what it would be. So keeping in mind that you have an immovable object with infinite density and mass, so this is not going anywhere, and you have a particle going this way. Now you're going to say, why would people do study like this? So when you are looking at the beginning of our universe, I don't know if I can find a good example. So the whole idea here is that we are here 15 billion years since the Big Bang. If the theory doesn't change, and if you go back in time, go back in time, go back in time, go back in time, you end up with the theory saying that you have a large amount of energy. And from that energy, we had a situation where matter was created. So the whole idea here is that what happened in the first in the first second of the Big Bang, or the first fraction of a second in the Big Bang. So you have high energy, and then we have the creation of matter. So the whole idea here of looking at this example is that if you can have from matter energy, the whole idea here is that if you had matter in 2004 and you could go back 15 billion years and have just energy, what matter would be created? And that's why high energy particle physicists, astrophysicists are always excited with their study of high particle physics. If you've enjoyed this video, please do a thumbs up. If you have any clarification questions, put them in the comments below. I always read them, and I use your comments to answer them indeed and find some ideas for videos as we come along. On this, I'm going to put here a link to another video, and I'll see you there.